Bravo! Bravo!
Thank you so much, and now it's time to talk. So
Now it's time.
you take
Up to now
No,
it's
it's
okay.
nothing. Now
Yes.
it's for the camera.
It's
not
for the camera. Ah, so
Yes,
I need to
we have-
use
yes,
it.
you need to
Okay.
use it. Yes.
You can talk.
Sit. So because it's for the camera, I'm going to use it, and then you're going to use it. So the first thing I want to ask Stefano to tell us is how he came upon and worked on this breed. It's fine, it's perfectly fine. Worked on this piece and adapted it, and also, if you can also talk about the project
Yes, of course.
Oltreoceano. And then we open for questions.
Then if you have any questions.
Yes.
I will talk so much that you won't have any question. You can just, can we go? So, no, thank you for listening. Thank you for hosting me here for this project. First of all, I worked on the text. The text is, as Stefano said, is 1,027 pages long. So I had to do some cutting. Not that much though. Because being illiterate, Vincenzo wrote a lot of times the same things and used the same periphrases to express his feelings and his history. And also he mentioned a lot of people that are still alive, or that people, relatives still alive. So the editing, first of all, it was a social editing. So we had to take out all the references to people still in life, because he was really sincere, as you must have seen during the show. And so some people might have been worried about what Vincenzo would say about their relatives, about their lives. And then the idea was to put together funny things and really dramatic things, because this is what I really loved about this diary, which is not a diary actually, it's an autobiography, because it was written in 1968 backwards, thinking and remembering all his life. And I don't know if you said that, it was written because the first son, Salvatore, graduated in engineering. So to celebrate that major event for an illiterate family, he put down his entire life as a testimony, as a will, giusto? Testamento, no? Testimony. So just say, okay, from now on, I'm not the engine of the family anymore. You're going to be the engineer. Rabito will be the engine, actually, of the family, and the most important person of the family. So I loved the way Vincenzo talked about his life and about our history, because he experienced everything that in school we have been studying, which we know actually in the 20th century. So the First World War, the Second World War, the period between the first and the second, of course, the fascism, Africa, Germany, and all so on until 1981 actually, because when Giovanni took all the pages to the Archivio in Arezzo, as Stefano told you, Vincenzo was still alive, and he was actually addicted to the typing machine. He couldn't help writing, and he didn't have a good relationship with his wife, so he didn't have anything to do actually. So to wait the death, basically, spent his time rewriting everything. So he wrote again the 1,027 pages, and then he wrote a diary. So day by day, what happened. So the nephews, the little story of this old man, because he was like 70, until the last day of his life, the 15th of February of 1981. He died in the 17th of February, sorry, 1981. As I was saying, I really loved the way he talked about our history and about his life, because it's a mixture of comic things, kind of, and really dramatic events. So I tried to put together the two ingredients, the two things. And this was the second way. That's how I edited the text. And that was like 2014, 24th of May of 2014, when I first, when I had the debut of this show, first time. Okay. Then I realized that it was not just a memory of a Sicilian, which I'm not, because I'm not Sicilian, and not even a memory of an Italian belonging to an exemplar generation, the generation of the heroes. You know, I ragazzi del 99 is like the guys of 2006 or 1982, no? The winners. I was talking about soccer. Actually, the last hero we have is Cannavaro. Well, before there were the guys of 1899. So it was not just a story of a guy from that generation, belonging to that generation, but actually it was a story of a father giving his life to his son and just relating his life in a moment in which he realizes that he's not gonna be the engine of his family anymore. He's not gonna, pull the family on. It's not gonna be. It's not on his shoulders that the family is going to go on. And Vincenzo had his family on his shoulders for his entire life, because he was an orphan of a family, of a mother with 7 kids, and in that time in Sicily, that meant that woman, the only way to survive was to be a prostitute, to sell her body. And so all the kids decided to work and not to go to school. So he had this idea that he should have studied. And then he managed to make his sons, 3 of them, study in the university. So Vincenzo, Salvatore, Gaetano, and Giovanni, who was the one who took to the Archivio all the 1,027 pages. And I thought that this testimony could be helpful, could be a good example for other people that in some time of their lives had to cut their story and begin again in another part of the world. So in 2015, I went to Argentina and I performed this show to the Italians of Argentina, for the Italians of Argentina and Uruguay, in the houses of people, so really tiny theaters. And I asked those people to tell me their stories. And I didn't actually really expect a lot of stories. And that was just a way to justify for my wife and my daughter that, I was going to Argentina for a month. I'm going to research stuff, Actually, I got a lot of stories, and I couldn't really do anything with those stories in Italy, because they were simple, they were easy, I could have made them up, The only way to use them was to give them back to the people that gave me those stories. So I used those stories to create characters, and from those stories and those characters, I began to build the second part of the story of Vincenzo. So I put those memories as fictional characters in the story of Vincenzo. In the second part, I would go from 1918, from today basically, so when we stopped this part, until 1943. And Vincenzo would meet people, and like a little girlfriend in Gorizia, which is not true. I mean, he didn't meet any girlfriend, actually he raped one. But that woman was made out of the stories, that girl was made out of the stories I got from people in Argentina, actually. So I went back after the first show and I gave those memories back to the people, so people could hear their story. And this project is Oltreoceano. It took me a lot to explain it. And it began in 2015 in Argentina, and since then I've done like 5 editions in Argentina, because then I got other memories, and those other memories would belong to a third part of Terra Matta from 43 till 68. And then it also began to be a new way, a new drama, new text, a new project, a new edition in Europe, in UK, Ireland and Northern Ireland, and also in Australia. And actually, I'm here to start a Northern American chapter, I would say. So, if you feel like, not now, of course, please not now. You will find some postcards, some way to keep in touch with me, to contact me, and I'd be glad to receive the memory or some tiny little story, anecdote about that moment in which somebody closes his house for the last time. Quando si esce di casa per l'ultima volta. C'è sempre un momento in cui si esce di casa per l'ultima volta. There's always a moment in which you leave home for the last time. Even if you don't know it that time, then you can realize that was the last time, you know? And I wish that I will get stories, I hope I will get stories, and I could go on telling the story of Vincenzo from 18 to 43 with the stories I get from here and from Boston tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Because I believe that sharing histories, sharing stories and personal stories in autobiography has two good things. I mean, it's important for two reasons. The first reason is that if we are living in a period now that in which we need to be afraid of something every day. Watch out, pay attention. You know, we have a lot of enemies, but actually we might have a lot of enemies. I'm not saying that we're all friends, but we might have less enemies if we know each other a little bit more. And there was a time in which people would just share their histories. Now you put it on Facebook, but it's not true. You know, it's what you want people to know about you, which is kind of different. And the other reason is that we in Italy, we forget always. We forget. We don't even know that we are in the world, in the entire world, and we've been immigrants for a lot of time in different conditions. And now maybe that would be a good way to face the present and to be more conscious about what's going on in Italy right now. You probably know we have this big issue with migration. I'm not saying it's the same thing, of course, but we don't have really an idea of what we've been doing in the past as immigrants. I'm not talking about yesterday, I'm talking even about a lot of time ago, but even today. So knowing that might help, I think. So this is my mission.
And let me say something.
Yeah, please.
First of all, if you send your story to Stefano, is completely anonymous, of course.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
not going to change a lot of things in the story. To send the story to Stefano, there is a postcards and business card upstairs, and you can take it and contact Stefano that way. And also wanna open for comments or questions if you want. If you have some.
Email for that too?
Yeah, there is everything in there is a
Maybe
postcard and the